Hello, Otaku for Joshi Anime Curious. My name is RandomSama613 and welcome to Anime Opinions. This week I'm going to be talking about some more first impressions from the Spring 2014 anime season, and I'm just going to go right into that. So first off, I'm going to talk about Madhouse's series No Game, No Life. And like a lot of other shows this season, it follows a couple of Hiki Neets. They happen to be brother and sister. Their names are Sora and Shiro, and they're collectively known as Blank Space. They're an online sensation of gamers who just seem to be way too good at gaming. The basic premise is that they're invited into a world where gaming governs everything. I enjoyed the first episode a lot. I thought it was interesting. One of the things that really stuck out to me was definitely the animation style. It has a really high color saturation. Is one of the things that really sticks out to me, and it really it was almost distracting in the way that the color saturation was so high. And that kind of bugged me, but at the same time, I think it's at least different and interesting, so I'm willing to give it a shot and see where it goes. I would also say that the OP, and as an extension, the entire OST is actually very good. I did like all the sound design, and I think that the OP, like I said, the OP is good, so that'll definitely have some legs for me. One of the big strong points of this series so far is the relationship and the way that the brother and sister interact, and the way that they bounce off of each other and have different kind of abilities that complement each other really nicely. Like the sister Shiro, she's really calculating and really smart and calculate odds on the fly, damage, stuff like that. Whereas her brother is more aggressive and he's kind of cunning and tends to bluff people more, and that's more of his thing. And as a duo, they really bounce off of each other really well, and it's a really interesting interaction, although it's definitely not the only series this season that's having a very strange brother-sister relationship, and I'll just leave it at that. But otherwise, it seems like it's going to be an interesting series. It kind of reminds me a lot of Problem Children are coming from another world, aren't they? Or Mondaiji Tachi Gai Seki Karakuro Desuyo. And I really like that series a lot. So, but it has a different feel to it. Even though they have a similar feel, but at the same time they definitely differentiate each other from themselves. So I'm definitely hoping that it keeps up and that it stays really good. So I'll definitely hold on to this one for 3 episodes. Next up is another series that I was really hyped about and that has been getting a lot of praise, and that is Black Bullet, done by Kinema Citrus, who haven't done very much prior to this. So it's one of their first really big blown anime. The basic premise is that a virus has wiped out a large chunk of the human population. The virus is known as the Gastrea virus, and humanity has been forced to live near these obelisks made out of a specific metal that repels the Gastrea virus infected people. It follows Rentaro, who is a promoter, and Enju, who's an initiator. Initiators are children who have been infected by the virus while they were still in their mother's womb. So they're immune to the virus, but they have certain powers as a result. They're known collectively as the Cursed Children. Promoters are specifically around to kind of guide initiators, and they work as partners. And promoters are also used to just basically get rid of, kill Gastrea when they amplify from people. The OP is fantastic. It's done by Fripside, who's one of my favorite artists. So it's definitely really good. The OST itself is also very, very solid. Like a lot of stuff this season, actually. Most OSTs have been really good this season. The animation quality is not that bad. It looks okay. I'd say this doesn't look as good as other series that I've seen, or definitely other ones from this season, like, say, Kawaii Complex. But it still looks decent, and I wouldn't say that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. Some of the other thoughts I had, like, just watching the episode, it definitely pushes the lolly agenda, I suppose would be the way to put it. A lot of the stuff that's pushed and the character interactions are done between Enju and Rentaro, and Enju reminds me a lot of Yaya from Unbreakable Machine Doll in the way that she acts, and just very similarly, they act very similar to each other, and that would be the easiest way to describe it. There's an awesome scientist chick. I always like awesome scientist chicks. She kind of reminds me of the scientist from Railgun. I can't remember her name right now, but she reminds me a lot of her. Just her motivation seems different. She just has that same kind of absent-minded, creepy scientist vibe, and I think that it works really well. It's trying to be an anime of 2 different worlds, and I think that a lot like Machine Doll, it doesn't really excel at either of them. It tries to be this wacky kind of comedy, which I don't think works too well, but it also tries to be this really serious kind of gritty, humanity's on the decline and they're fighting against things. I think it does that a lot better than the comedic aspects, and I think that the comedic aspects really do detract from the series. However, I will still give it some time because the premise is so promising. So here's hoping that they kind of even out and figure out exactly what they're going to do. And last, and decidedly not least, is Chika the Coffin Princess, done by Studio Bones. This is also being done by the exact same director and writer as who did Scrapped Princess, which is still one of my favorite anime of all time, and it continues to be to this day. So I'm definitely extremely hyped for this series, but I'm really hoping that it doesn't disappoint me. So the basic premise for Chika is that a war happened between these fictional countries, and one particular country lost, which happens to be, I think, the country that we're based in. And there's your premise. It's not like a particularly special premise that we haven't heard of before, but it does gets the job done, and it sets up the world a bit, and it fleshes out some of the lore. So that helps a lot. It primarily follows Toru, who is I think he's an ex-assassin, and his sister, and how they're helping out Chika, who Toru runs into while he's in the mountains foraging for herbs and mushrooms and stuff like that. And there's some combat, and you learn a little bit more about Chika, but not a lot. She can't speak English, she can't speak Japanese to save her life, and that's about it. I will say that the OP and the OST are very good. Again, this seems to be a running thing throughout the season. They've all been pretty good. I'd say that the animation style reminds me a lot of Scrapped Princess, which shouldn't surprise me because it's done by the same studio, the same director, and the same writer. So it's not terribly surprising that it looks similar, which is a good thing. I actually really like the animation style, so other than the eyebrows being crazy, but I can live with that. So I'm really kind of happy with how the animation style is, and it looks a lot like Scrap Princess, so that's not a bad thing at all. The magic that they kind of talk about is kind of steampunky in the way that it is. Like the weapon that Chika has is a magic-powered sniper rifle, but the way it's done is kind of more in a steampunk aesthetic than anything else. It reminds me a lot of like Last Exile for the way that the weaponry looks. Would be the best way to describe it, for like the way that the rifles look in Last Exile. Chika's rifle looks very similar. The first episode raises a lot of interesting questions about the world, about what's going on, who is Chika, who is Toru, who is Toru's sister, what did they do previously, what happened in this war, why are they doing what they're doing. So I'm definitely intrigued, and I'm definitely going to give it some time, but I'm hoping that it doesn't disappoint me, because Scrap Princess certainly didn't, so I have high hopes for this series. But what do you guys think of the 3 series I just mentioned? Go ahead and leave your comments down below. Of course, like I said, I've been very happy with this season so far, and I haven't really had a major disappointment. I've had some series that have definitely not been as good as I'd hoped, but there hasn't been a disappointment yet. So go ahead and leave your comments down below about the entire season, actually. Let me know what you think, because like I said, I haven't been disappointed, so here's hoping it stays that way. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps me out quite a bit. If you didn't like it, go ahead and dislike. If it's just because of a difference of opinion, that's fine, but if it's from a technical aspect, please leave a comment down below. I just try and make things better. But until next time, I've been RandomSama613. This has been Anime Opinions, and until then, watch more anime.